How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to the Baby Bombers podcast, where we're talking about Agustin Ramirez. If you guys have not heard this name, you're about to, and you're about to hear a lot of it. And this is a guy that is endlessly potential, endless upside. This player, my friends, the Yankees have a really, really deep catcher position, lots of depth, lots of young talent there. And some would say Ramirez might be the best of them all. You know, we know Austin Wells. We know he's about to get his opportunity, his rookie debut coming up. Showcased some upside last year at the end of the season. Hit like 10 homers with 4 RBIs, four homers. Maybe it was opposite. 4 homers with 10 RBIs. Like the last 2 weeks of the season, he looked excellent. So when you're looking right now at what the Yankees have available in the future, Ramirez could end up becoming that guy. He has upside defensively, ridiculous power from the right-hand side of the plate. This is a really exciting young talent, and we're excited to break him down for you guys because he's going to be one of those baby bombers we keep an eye on throughout the course of the next couple of months as the season progresses. He's got an invite to spring training. He's there right now, and we're going to see some upside. We're going to see some real talent from this kid over the next couple of weeks, let alone this upcoming season in the minor leagues. So, Ryan, how you do today, my friend, and what are your thoughts on Agustin Ramirez?
Yeah, so I'm doing great first and foremost, and secondly, Augustin Ramirez is in camp as a 40-man guy, so, he'll get an extended look with the Yankees. They'll get to see him, working alongside some major league pitchers, working along some guys maybe that are in the upper levels of the minor leagues who will get a look at the major league level at some point. Obviously the big question with the New York Yankees is in regards to their pitching, not necessarily their catching, but, Alex, one thing that's an underrated storyline is Trevino's a free agent in 2 years, so, Austin Wells kind of has to hurry up his development, because he's got to be ready pretty soon. I mean, the Yankees traded Higashioka in his last year of arbitration. Would it be impossible for the Yankees to do the same with Trevino if they feel like Ramirez is ready? This is an opportunity for the Yankees, or for Ramirez really, to get himself going. Trevino's not going to catch the first 2 weeks of spring training. You're not going to run Austin Wells into the ground early on either. And if you look at the depth chart, at least on the 40-man roster, you don't imagine that Ben Wartvedt will stick for the entirety of spring training. You imagine that at some point he will be dealt or something will happen because they can't option him. And that makes Agustin Ramirez the 4th catcher on their depth chart. It goes Wells/Trevino, 1 and 2. And then you have Carlos Narvaez as the 3rd guy in AAA. And Ramirez is a really excellent defensive player as well. He really has some really strong defensive tools. He's a pretty good framer. He holds his own in the running game as well. The big thing for me is the framing, right? Like, I think if you're a great framer, you're going to have value behind the dish, even if the catching and blocking aren't entirely there. And then if you look at the game power, the raw power, the contact, the swing decisions, right? Like, again, he's hit a baseball, multiple baseballs, over 114 miles an hour. You just don't see that from a catcher. You rarely see these offensive skill sets from catchers. The best way for me to look at this, to describe this is, if Agustin Ramirez were like a corner outfield prospect or an infield prospect, he would still have a lot of hype. He would have plenty of excitement around him. Now imagine that offensive profile, but he's also a catcher, a position where you don't get offense from. This is a guy who has an opportunity to be like a 110 to 115 WRC plus hitter, providing excellent defense from behind the plate. And, at the end of the day, I mean, Alex, again, Austin Wells, love the guy. I think he'll be the starting catcher for the future. But if you got both of these guys going for you, who knows what happens to the DH spot? Stan's a little more nimble, or maybe Stan doesn't play the way he should and he's no longer on the team. And you've got an open DH spot. You can rotate those two guys between DH. Ramirez has played some first base. Things have actually allowed Ramirez to play a position outside of catcher, unlike Wells, which is a little bit interesting to see, which means he could get reps at first base. Obviously, first base is a question for the Yankees long term. Ben Rice is there, but, Ben Rice may not play every single day. You know how the Yankees are. They don't play guys 162 games a year. Having a guy who can catch and hold his own there, play some first base, potentially DH for you, hit enough to hold his own at those positions, this could be a pretty valuable player for the Yankees. And, I'm really excited to see how he progresses. I'm excited to see how he does in spring training. He is a guy I think every Yankee fan should be watching, and he's our boy, man. Like, we've been really excited about him for the entirety of the winter. We've been talking about him, and this is an opportunity for him to put himself on, kind of put himself on the map a little bit with a really strong spring training.
Absolutely. Look, we've seen a couple of his at-bats already. He has the composure, and that's kind of what I want to discuss his offensive side for just a moment here. He has the composure in the batter's box that's very rare and unique for a catcher. You don't see that many great offensive catches. The league has gone in more the direction of defensive first guys. Jose Trevino is a perfect example of that. But Ramirez is 22 years old. He's 6 foot 210. The guy's got 55-60 raw power, good speed. I mean, you look at his upside here, and it's tangible. Let's talk about his minor league numbers, right? So last season, he started the year in low A Hudson Valley. Hits 245, 384 OBP, 397 slugging. Nothing to write home about for over 56 games. Then they elevate him to high A Hudson. Sorry, he was in low A Tampa. Then he goes to high A Hudson Valley. He plays 27 games, guys, and the player that Augustin Ramirez was with Tampa compared to Hudson Valley is night and day. And the most interesting part about it to me, Ryan, was he goes up a level, right? He goes up a level, increased level of talent, and he completely dominates Hudson Valley over 27 games. He hits 384 with a 430 OBP, a 714 slugging rate, a 14% strikeout rate, 6.6% walk rate. Of course, you could, stand to improve there. Hits 9 homers with 23 RBIs and a 204 WRC plus. And the Yankees are looking at themselves like, hold up, this guy actually is looking like a superstar right now. Let's bring him up to Double A. He plays 31 games in Double A, and his numbers crash back down to earth, right? It's 211, 273 OBP, 313 slugging. So the Yankees saw something, though, and they saw a glimpse of what could be a very special player with the right process and the right consistency. If they get him to a place where he's able to hit like this, even 70%, 60% of the time, the Yankees have themselves a true star at the catcher position climbing through their farm system, and he's a good defensive player as well, and he's getting better every single day. Now think about this. Austin Wells is 24 years old. There's no reason for Augustin Ramirez to be rushing to join the MLB or get to AAA. They have time with him. They have a full year, 2 years. They have Trevino under contract, I believe, until 2026. He is under team control. They have Wells going into his rookie season. There is no reason for them to rush Augustin Ramirez. In my opinion, best case scenario, Ramirez gets plenty of minor league action, plenty of experience, develops his game, and then takes over for, essentially the Jose Trevino's job that inevitably he will probably end up leaving. Whether they let go of him next year or 2025, after the 2025 season, Ramirez and Wells may be the future of this team. They could platoon. You got a lefty, you got a righty. Maybe one of them ends up becoming maybe Wells ends up becoming so good they don't need Augustin Ramirez. That's the best case scenario. So, how do you think his game develops from here? He struggled to the transition to Double A, which is arguably the most difficult of the minor league transitions. Where do you think he needs to improve his game moving forward to start to see a little bit of that consistency from the 27 game sample size he saw with Hudson Valley?
Yeah, so I think lifting the ball in the air is the biggest thing for me, right? If you look at the ground ball rates, that's the number one thing you look at and say, all right, that's got to improve. But the good thing is he doesn't have strikeout issues, right? So, it's not a situation when you're like, all right, you have to, you are going to have to figure out the hit tool and you're going to have to figure out how to lift the ball in the air more. That's really difficult to do because oftentimes lifting the ball in the air more comes with more swing and miss. It comes with a more lofty swing. If Ramirez opens himself up to a little more strikeouts and lifts the ball in the air a lot more, it's a flying trade-off for him. If he goes from, all right, he's probably going to strike out, 20% of the time at the major league level to 22% of the time at the major league level, but it comes with, all right, instead of hitting the ball into the ground 45% of the time, it's just 40% of the time, and his fly ball rate's closer to around 30%. That's a win. That's a win and a half, right? Like, you just want more line drives, more fly balls. Guys, he hits the ball so hard that when he does hit the ball, I'm not even sure he has to pull it for it to get out. He really has, outstanding game power. I'm not saying it's, Spencer Jones-like, but I think it's pretty comparable to a guy like Erison Pereira. Could you imagine if Erison Pereira could make more contact? That's basically the question you're asking here. If Emerson Pereira could make more contact, he would be on the team, right? Like, he would be playing every single day. You know what I'm saying? And, instead of being a corner outfielder where the Yankees have a lot of options there and you can kind of sign guys pretty easily, it's at catcher where, let's be real here, Alex. How many times do you find a free agent catcher that's a meaningful addition to your team, right? Jose Trevino was an excellent addition because the Yankees were able to get him, but the Rangers basically saying, we don't really want him anymore. They got him for Albert Abreu, right? And Albert Abreu, ended up going back to the Yankees that very same year. So the Rangers essentially gave the guy away. Now, granted, it was because they brought in Jonah Heim and they brought in Mitch Garver, and those two additions certainly helped the Rangers win a World Series the year after. But it's more so saying, it's hard to find elite catching on the market. And, when you're talking about trade conversations, which that's always going to come up when we're talking about, all right, you have a prospect who's really good, but it's at a position where you already have a guy there that can potentially be your franchise guy. The trade conversation definitely comes up. And Augustin Ramirez would certainly present a lot of value to a lot of major league teams. let's say the deadline rolls around and the Marlins don't have a catcher still. They haven't traded Jesus Luzardo, and Ramirez is having an unbelievable season. Do you not look and say, hey, I think the Miami Marlins would really like a guy like Agustin Ramirez, and maybe you build the foundation of a trade for a really good starting pitcher, or, again, like it opens up a lot of opportunities, and I think Ramirez will certainly boost his value this year if he's able to lift the ball in the air more, and there's no organization to teach that better, to have you learn that better with than the Yankees. They are an excellent organization when it comes to generating loft, getting more game power. We can sit here and criticize a lot of things with any organization, but when it comes to the Yankees, it's bullpens, it's power, those are the two things you don't question the Yankees on. They'll always have a really good ability to get one of the two to be really good, or if not both. So, at the end of the day, I think Ramirez lifting the ball in the air, that'll be the big difference for him in 2024. If you make that click, he'll really pop as a prospect. And yeah, if you extend if you sign Juan Soto to a long-term deal, you're gonna have a lot of money tied up to a small group of players, right? You're going to need to rely on your farm system more. The Yankees are going to need to start transitioning and getting these guys to hit as prospects at the major league level, because if they can't, this core's not really going to go anywhere past 2024. So, it's an interesting situation. Ramirez can either play himself into a spot with the Yankees, or honestly play himself onto a different scene, because he'll be so valuable in the trade market that the Yankees could use him as a piece to get a controllable young player at a different position.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you can always leverage that talent if the Yankees don't need him in the future via trade. But Agustin Ramirez is a name to keep an eye on, my friends. Definitely have your eyes peeled. And, of course, we'll keep you updated on these minor league players taking big steps forward. So definitely tune into the Baby Bombers podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. As always, appreciate your thoughts and opinions down below in the YouTube comment section. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.